Have you ever heard someone use the phrase, oh, well, her heart, it was in the right place? And what they really mean is she blew it. She kind of failed. But hey, her intentions were good. Well, we all have been there to one degree or another. There are times in life when we intend to do right and we fail. But what I'm talking about is the overarching theme of your life. Because according to Jesus, your heart is in the right place when it follows the right actions. Yes, of course, we make all decisions in our heart and in our mind, and then we live them out. But let me tell you what Jesus said in a very famous passage that many people don't read for what it actually says. In Matthew chapter 6, Jesus says in verse 19, "Do not store up for yourselves treasures on earth, where moth and rust destroy, and where thieves break in and steal. But store up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where neither moth nor rust destroys, and where thieves do not break in and steal." But here's the kicker, verse 21. "For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also." It has always intrigued me that Jesus says, where your treasure is where your heart will be. Why did he say it that way and not the other way around? Jesus is trying to get us to understand that you can't just stand around all day long or your whole life and make excuses and say, well, my heart's in the right place. I mean, Jesus does see our intentions, but we aren't going to answer to God based on our intentions. We're going to answer to God for the things we actually did and the words we actually spoke. Now, I know that through Jesus, our sins are under his blood and won't be punished for our sins. But we as Christians will be rewarded or not rewarded. We will suffer an actual loss for the fact that we did not put our treasure in the right place. That's what the Apostle Paul talks about when he speaks of the judgment seat of Christ. But here Jesus just as much says it. He says, wherever your treasure actually is, that's where your heart is. Now he's talking about treasure here because he's saying, look, don't lay it up on the earth. In other words, some substantive thing, whether it be a house or cars or clothing or money. Hey, thieves can steal it. It can rust. It can become corrupted. Moths can eat it. So he's talking about real stuff. And he goes on to say, no, your treasure should be in heaven, where it can't be destroyed by earthly processes. Then he says, wherever your treasure is, that's where your heart is going to be. So when people think about somebody who's passionate for Jesus Christ, and they think, how can his heart be so on fire for Jesus? That's probably because his treasure is in heaven. What do I mean? Listen, I'm living for the fact that by the grace of Jesus Christ, by his salvation, I'm investing my life in prayer, in Bible study, in sharing the gospel. I'm investing my life so that other people will come to know Jesus. I'm investing my life in helping disciple other Christians so that they will help others come to know Jesus. I'm literally banking on the fact that when I get to heaven, Jesus Christ is going to take my hand and show me the eternal souls that will be in heaven because I obeyed his call by his grace. I am putting my treasure in heaven. That's my main focus. And because my treasure is in heaven, my heart's there. I mean, I think about it all the time. Because my treasure is in heaven and it is of eternal value, I'm not so caught up in the treasures and the things of the earth. I give and am able to dedicate my heart to Jesus because that stuff doesn't have a grip on me. Why? just because I had right intentions. No, because the honest intentions of my heart are followed through by what I'm doing. Listen, I know your heart wants to serve Jesus, but what your heart needs to understand is even Jesus said, do what is right. Invest in eternal things. Invest in the gospel. Invest in your relationship with Jesus. And when you do that in a very real and tangible way, with your time, with your money, with your efforts, with everything that you have, when you do that, your heart is going to follow. And pretty soon you're going to be like, hey, my heart, it's all about heaven. My heart, it's all about Jesus. It's all about seeing people come to him. Where your treasure is, the way that you're actually living, what you're really investing in, that is what makes the difference about the affection of your heart.